Alrighty, watching a video, Daniel Dennett, Big Thinkers, and having some fun with it. At 4:20 into this talk, it was uploaded in 2011. Daniel Dennett, he says that there are mindless cells running around, cruising around, swimming around in, I guess, his body. I'll have to listen to it again to be precise. But the idea that cells are mindless, to me, suggests a funny kind of a paradigm or a setup or a semantic in terms of mind. That my blood cells are me, they're swimming around. They have a mind of sorts, a single cellular mind. The body, the brain, has a multicellular mind. The heart has a mind. The stomach has a mind. So exactly what is meant by mind, I don't know if Dennett is going to define. At 4:30 into the talk, he says it doesn't mean that you don't exist, it just means that that's what you're made of. The idea that a body is made of something or consists of something is an interesting way to think and to speak. What I tend to do is deconstruct language quite a bit, down to little bits and bytes and meanings. Might not get me anywhere, but it's what I do. Paradigm, about 5 minutes in, he's talking about Darwin and how a mindless process could generate a mind. What I might like to do, and this is perhaps in a way similar to what Corey Anton does, it was through Anton that I came to this talk, is to suggest that the cell and the environment are not two. That if a cell has a mind, it is the mind of the environment encapsulated in a cell. So the single cellular environmental mind could perhaps be a way of speaking toward this kind of a system. But it would be strange to say that the solar system had a mind to create planets. The word mind can only be stretched so far. The sun has a mind to shine. Earth has a mind to people itself. If mind is restricted as a word by definition to multicellular organisms and even certain types of organisms, some people might object to an insect having an insect mind. That's how words go. As Dennett moves into Turing, still with the idea of mind in mind, the thought of larger groups having a mind, a nation state of mind, how a country, a geographical area, as much of a myth as that may be, or as much of a reality as that may be, to think there is a mind of Canada or a mind of Europe. There again, stretching the meaning of the word. I'm reminded of the Corey Anton talk, where towards the end of Corey's talk, it seemed to be semantics quite a bit, that where Corey diverged from Daniel. At about 7 minutes into the talk, Dennett speaks of algorithm as being the process by which something might emerge. He seems to be pointing in that direction. To me, that suggests a computer model, and of course he's talking about computers and models. Here again, like a word, a model is going to be representative of something, used to explain something. And I guess that's what Dennett is trying to do, is to explain mind, assuming there is such a thing, and how it works. So he's going to have to use some models along the way, I suppose. In the second talk, at 8 minutes, Dennett introduces the word spirit and boiling down a spirit. Sometimes I like to think that it can go the other way, that spirit could be explained in terms of brain function, Or the opposite would be that brain function can be described in terms of spirit, in terms of energy fluctuations of the spiritual field. That could be an interesting way to dramatize events and how things unfold. A bit nebulous, perhaps. Dennett talks about an attitude toward mind in terms of people wanting their minds to be other than or beyond which science could ever explain as being very simple, just processes. And I'm reminded, I think it was one of the responses to Corey Anton's video where somebody wrote of a symphony being more than just notes on pieces of paper. That, yes, a symphony could be described as being notes, all written out, but to say that's all it is, that's kind of a different state than what is experienced when one is in a symphony hall listening to a symphony. So there's this kind of a interplay of description versus experience, and that's interesting to me. Okay, now at about 8 minutes and 30 seconds in, he uses the word consciousness, I think, for the first time. And here I think the description of consciousness versus the experience of consciousness are two sorts of different events, let's say. To hear a symphony is one thing, to describe a symphony is another thing. And I'm not sure if Dennett is confusing the description of a thing with a thing, like Watts used to talk about confusing the menu with the meal, or money with wealth, and those kinds of ideas. That a symbol, a word, is one thing, and what is signified is another thing. And even to call a thing is, in Watts's terminology, it's a think, it's a noun. And that brings me back to language once again. Semantics at play. Along around 11 minutes into the talk, Dennett speaks of mechanism, a mechanistic model, electromechanical. I think electromagnetismal or electrochemical would be a better model to use. There certainly appears to be electricity and chemistry involved in consciousness. When the electricity stops, consciousness probably goes away too. So electricity might be a necessary yet insufficient condition. Chemistry might boil down to physics. So explanations, yeah, you might be able to get down to the Planck length. Consciousness is nothing but Planck units, and that's all it is. The end. So at the end of the second talk, it almost sounds as if Dennett was saying consciousness isn't there, which is a strange thing to say. At around 19 or so minutes, almost at the end of the talk, the word soul is brought up again, and the Pope as having ascribed or subscribed to evolution as being a fact, but the soul as being something else. Sometimes I like to see the soul as being the point, a point of origin, a center of the universe, which occurs practically anywhere at any time. Each so-called individual is a soul, a point of origin. Now, whether an entity might transcend space and time somehow through other dimensions, that remains a quibble. If a so-called individual or entity could transcend the physical algorithmically, then that's a perfectly good explanation. At what level a attitude of thanks or celebration in Planck units emerges might be subject to analysis. Just as each hydrogen atom is identical, each soul might be identical in some way, shape, or form. And that would be an ocean of a notion of a notion of an ocean of consciousness.